Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for our witnesses being here today. My father was the president of the Illinois chapter of the NAACP for many, many years. As a child, I learned how to fight for my rights before I even learned how to walk. I marched in protests, sat in meetings, and helped to organize. I want everyone in this room to understand what is happening right now. The Republican Party has launched an all-out assault against civil rights organizations founded to ensure the end of Jim Crow. But that's just one part of this strategy. 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in Louisiana versus Calais, saying that, and I'm going to quote, race-neutral considerations, that it could employ race-neutral considerations, end quote, in redistricting. And within days, Southern legislatures, they rushed to wipe out Black representation in Congress. Tennessee called an emergency session to repeal its own law against mid-decade redistricting. It then splintered Memphis, a city that is 60% Black, into 3 districts to dilute the voices of the Black voters there. The state's Black legislators protested, and in response, the Speaker stripped every single one of them of their committee assignments. Tennessee is not alone in silencing Black voices. Alabama moved to reinstate maps a court previously struck down for intentional racial discrimination. Florida passed new racially gerrymandered maps, and we're waiting in my home state of Georgia to see what happens with us on June 17th. Ms. Wiley, and you can just answer yes or no, have you ever seen 5 states move simultaneously to dismantle Black representation in Congress in such a very rapid, short time?
No.
And while this administration demands attacks on Black Americans' voices with phone calls to governors, it is fighting hard for the right-wing extremist groups who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Groups whose members are not all white supremacists, but doesn't seem to mind white supremacists. Trump's DOJ has given $1.8 billion of a slush fund taken from taxpayers to pay off the 1,600 right-wing rioters who tried to steal the election for him. That's $1 million for each rioter, with $100 million left over. Ms. Wiley, what message does this send to the country that this administration is prosecuting the organization that takes down white supremacists while stealing taxpayer money to give to white supremacists?
I wish I had a word, and I don't have a word for that, except to say that the American public should be outraged.
Southern states are tripping over themselves to eliminate Black representation in Congress. The president is doling out reparations to white supremacists, and DOJ has indicted the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization built to defend the rights of Americans, on charges so flimsy that it would make Bull Connor and George Wallace blush. Americans deserve a voice in our democracy, representation of their interests, and should not have to fight for their basic civil rights again and again and again. Race should not be a factor. This is an attempt to roll back the progress made through the civil rights movement and strip Black Americans of their voice in public life, using the same tactics as Southern segregationist states following the death of Reconstruction for the very same goal. I am a child of the civil rights movement. We have seen this before. If we needed a reminder or a wake-up call that Jim Crow is alive and evolved, these legislatures made sure that we got the notice. Ms. Wiley, would you like to expand on any previous questions or statements that you weren't able to complete?
I just want to remind us that the federal agencies, FBI, DEA, AFT, spent over $548 million on informants for a reason. because they thought it was going to help them keep people safe. We're talking about this attack on SPLC at a time when we are facing an administration that cut funds to prevent gun violence, that cut funds to track where and how we might have violent white supremacist neo-Nazi attacks, that cut funds that was going to support public safety, all at a time when we've seen a White House directing Department of Justice about who it wants to prosecute. And as someone who used to work for the Department of Justice, that is unheard of.
Thank you, and I yield.
Generally yields back.